Alex Eala had just beaten the defending Wimbledon champion, and tennis legend Billie Jean King was there to greet her the moment the match ended. It was the kind of scene that makes an entire stadium stop and take notice. Following Eala's stunning 7-6, 6-2 win over the reigning champion in the third round at the All England Club, cameras caught King waiting courtside as Eala walked off, still overwhelmed by the emotion of the moment. The two shared a heartfelt exchange that has since spread across social media and tennis circles around the world. King was heard saying that center court is such an iconic place to play, that Eala is a great kid, and that she hoped things would go well for her, adding that she'd need to find a way to stay calm given the reported flood of over 400 sponsorship calls already coming in for her. This wasn't staged. It wasn't manufactured hype for clicks. It genuinely happened, and it says a lot about where Alex Eala stands in the sport right now. So, let's set the scene properly. Alex Eala walked onto center court as the number 29 seed, facing a six-time Grand Slam champion and the defending Wimbledon title holder. 2 hours and 14 minutes later, she walked off having dethroned her, surviving a grueling first-set tiebreak before sealing the win in the second set. As the reality of what she'd done sank in, Eala dropped to her knees in tears. During her post-match interview, she could barely finish a sentence without the emotion catching up with her again. According to accounts and footage from the All England Club, Billie Jean King, one of the most influential figures in the history of tennis, was waiting to share that moment with her. King later confirmed the meeting in a public post, describing it as a treat to spend time with Eala after her historic win, and calling her an inspiration for children in the Philippines and around the world. Coming from Billie Jean King, those words carry extraordinary weight. This is the woman who helped reshape the entire landscape of women's sports, fighting groundbreaking battles on and off the court so that generations of athletes who followed would have opportunities that once seemed impossible. For King to seek Alex out, to make a point of greeting her in that moment, and to publicly celebrate her achievement, was far more than a simple gesture. It was a legend recognizing the arrival of a remarkable new talent. Speaking about Eala, King reportedly said, "Center court is such an iconic place to play, and she's a great kid. I just hope things go well for her. She's got to get calmed down. They've had over 400 calls for sponsorships for her." Eala's own reaction told you everything about how much the moment meant to her. Anyone who watched her leave center court with tears streaming down her face, struggling to get through a single sentence, could see a 21-year-old still trying to process the fact that her name now belonged alongside some of the biggest in the sport. Then, look up and find Billie Jean King waiting for her, genuinely happy and eager to congratulate her, made the moment even more unforgettable. Eala spoke about growing up in the Philippines and reflected on how her achievement might look small compared to what Serena and Venus Williams accomplished across their careers. But before she could finish the thought, the emotion pulled her under again. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't manufactured. It was the raw reaction of a young athlete realizing, in real time, the size of what she'd just done, with one of the greatest champions in tennis history standing beside her to mark the occasion. King wasn't the only legend paying close attention that day. Martina Navratilova was also at the All England Club, and according to several accounts, she watched proudly as Eala delivered her on-court speech following the biggest win of her career. Navratilova has been following Eala's development for some time and has previously said she belongs on the sport's biggest stages, pointing to the excitement she generates and the significance her matches now carry. Her praise hasn't been a one-off compliment either. Back in March, Navratilova broke down Eala's game for the WTA, describing her as a crafty lefty who uses variety exceptionally well and has developed an effective slice, while noting her serve remains the area with the most room to grow, largely due to her slighter frame. It was the kind of detailed, considered assessment legends reserve for players they genuinely believe have a big future ahead of them. Billie Jean King's support for Eala goes back even further. King has said she's been following Eala's career since she was just 14 years old, recalling that the two first met at the US Open, long before Eala had established herself on tour. That long-standing belief makes King's emotional congratulations at Wimbledon feel even more meaningful, the product of years of watch, not a passing reaction to one big win. Although Eala didn't win that day back when they first met, King has said the potential was obvious even then. She saw something in the way Eala competed that convinced her the young Filipina had what it would take to one day reach the top of the sport. Fast forward to Wimbledon 2026, and that belief is beginning to come true in dramatic fashion. What stood out even more, by several accounts of their exchange, was the advice King reportedly offered during the celebration. Rather than simply congratulating her, King is said to have used the moment to prepare Eala for what comes next, reminding her that a breakthrough on this stage brings an entirely new level of attention, with major brands suddenly eager to sign her. King's message, reportedly, was about staying grounded, thinking carefully before committing to anything, and understanding that learning to say no to lucrative offers may become one of the biggest challenges of this new chapter. Not just for Alex, but for the family and team supporting her. As Eala and her family navigate those decisions together, that kind of guidance becomes even more meaningful. It's the sort of advice only someone who has personally lived through the pressures of sudden global fame can really offer, turning their meeting into something far more significant than a photo opportunity. It becomes a passing of knowledge from one generation's trailblazer to the next. That's the thread running through this entire story. This isn't casual praise or a passing congratulatory moment. It's Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova, two of the greatest champions the sport has ever produced, independently choosing to spotlight Eala during the same tournament, in the same week, after the same remarkable victory, with King even using the moment to offer career guidance as Eala's journey enters a new phase. When legends of that stature start rallying around the same 21-year-old, it's more than coincidence or momentary excitement. It's a sign the tennis world is quietly arriving at the same conclusion. Alex Eala is a talent capable of shaping the sport's future. Now the story gets even more interesting, because Eala doesn't have much time to sit with what she's already accomplished. Historic wins can become yesterday's news fast at a Grand Slam, and Wimbledon has a way of forcing players to refocus immediately on the next challenge. For Eala, that challenge arrives in the form of Jasmine Paolini, the number 13 seed and a Wimbledon finalist just 2 years ago. Another massive test, another experienced opponent, another chance for the young Filipina to prove her run is no accident. Paolini has already made clear she has enormous respect for Eala and understands exactly how dangerous she can be on grass. Speaking after her own win over Maria Sakkari, Paolini praised Eala's game, saying she believes it suits the surface exceptionally well. She pointed to the level Eala has maintained throughout the grass court season and didn't hesitate to call her a very dangerous player, significant praise coming from someone who has reached a Wimbledon final and knows exactly what it takes to succeed on these courts. Paolini also pointed to something else that's become impossible to ignore during Eala's run: the extraordinary support she draws from fans. She said it's wonderful for tennis to see a player capable of pulling in such passionate crowds from all over the world, adding that Eala's growing popularity has created a genuinely special atmosphere around her matches. Paolini admitted she's expecting an extremely tough contest, not just because of Eala's aggressive, confident style, but because she expects the Wimbledon crowd to be firmly behind the 21-year-old for the entire match. That mix of momentum, confidence, and overwhelming fan support makes Eala one of the most dangerous players left in the draw. Having eliminated the defending champion and earned praise from legends like Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova, Eala enters the fourth round with the belief that she belongs on the biggest stage. Paolini knows she isn't facing an underdog with nothing to lose. She's facing a player whose confidence is growing with every match, whose breakthrough might still be unfolding in real time. The two have met only once before, back in February at the Dubai Championships, where Eala earned an impressive straight sets win over Paolini on a hard court. That result will no doubt sit somewhere in both players' minds, but Wimbledon presents an entirely different challenge: their first meeting on grass, their first clash at a Grand Slam, and their biggest matchup yet, with a coveted spot in the Wimbledon quarterfinals on the line. Speaking ahead of the match, Paolini made it clear she has no intention of underestimating her opponent. "I know that I'm going to play Eala. I watched a little bit of her last match. I think her game fits very well on grass. She showed a great level in Berlin as well, and I think she's a very dangerous player here. Let's see how we're going to prepare for the match. I already played her in Dubai this year, and I think it's going to be a tough one." Those comments carry real weight, coming from one of the tournament's most accomplished remaining players. Paolini understands Eala is no longer an unknown quantity capable of the occasional surprise. She's a genuine threat now, someone who has earned the respect of elite players through performance, not reputation alone. But zoom out, and the picture gets even more remarkable. Alex Eala didn't grow up on pristine grass courts, or in one of tennis's traditional powerhouses. She's spoken openly about learning the game on a court that had simply been painted over a basketball court in the Philippines, a far cry from the immaculate lawns of the All-England club. There were no endless grass court seasons, no generations of local champions to look up to, just determination, relentless work, and a dream that must have seemed impossibly far away most days. Fast forward to today, and that same young player is thriving on the most famous grass in the world. She has beaten the defending Wimbledon champion, caught the attention of legends like Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova, and earned the respect of her next opponent before a single ball has even been struck. It's an extraordinary transformation, and a powerful reminder of what talent, resilience, and belief can overcome, no matter how unlikely the starting point. Now, with a place in the Wimbledon quarterfinals on the line, Alex Eala has another chance to prove this breakthrough isn't just a memorable run. It could be the beginning of something much bigger. Along the way, she has already made history, becoming the first Filipino player, male or female, in the Open era to reach the second week of a Grand Slam singles tournament, a milestone that will forever belong to Philippine tennis history. What makes it even more remarkable is the road she took to get there. Eala opened her Wimbledon campaign with a composed straight sets win over Renata Zarazua, showing confidence from round one. In the second round, she faced a tougher test, battling back from a set down against Maya Joint for a hard-fought comeback win, avenging the heartbreaking loss she suffered to the Australian in last year's Eastbourne final. Then came the match that changed everything. Standing across the net was the defending Wimbledon champion, and Eala answered with the biggest performance of her career, beating Iga Świątek in straight sets. It was more than just another upset. It was a statement to the entire tennis world. The win improved Eala's head-to-head record against Świątek to 2-1 and marked the 7th top 10 win of her young career. Remarkable numbers for a player who's only 21. These aren't the numbers of an emerging prospect anymore. They're the numbers of someone establishing herself among the elite. What makes this story even more compelling is the emotional weight Eala herself attaches to Wimbledon. She said repeatedly that this tournament holds a special place in her heart, and that competing on center court in consecutive years has given her some of the most unforgettable moments of her life. For Eala, Wimbledon isn't just another stop on the calendar. It's the stage she dreamed about as a kid. Every time she steps onto that grass, she's reminded of how far she's come from practicing back home in the Philippines and simply imagining what it might feel like to compete at the sport's most prestigious event. She's also spoken openly about the responsibility she feels as a trailblazer for Philippine tennis, knowing millions of people back home are watching her journey with pride. Rather than letting that pressure weigh her down, she's turned it into motivation, determined to inspire the next generation and prove that players from the Philippines can succeed on tennis's biggest stage. She said there's no greater honor than knowing her journey might inspire someone else to dream bigger, while also making clear she doesn't want the next generation growing up trying to become the next Alex Eala. Instead, she hopes every young athlete finds the confidence to become the first version of themselves, to chase their own dream, and write their own story. That perspective says a lot about who she is, not just as a tennis player, but as a person. Even as her profile rises and the spotlight grows brighter, Eala stays focused on using her success to open doors for others, rather than putting herself on a pedestal. That's the player who now walks into this fourth-round showdown against Jasmine Paolini. She's no longer simply a promising young talent with potential, or an exciting outsider capable of the occasional upset. She's a proven competitor who has earned her place on one of sport's biggest stages. She's the player Billie Jean King personally sought out after her historic win, not only to congratulate her, but to offer guidance for the challenges that come with success. She's the player Martina Navratilova has followed for years, praising both her development and her ceiling. And she's the player her next opponent is already calling very dangerous before a single ball has been struck. Respect like that doesn't come easily in professional tennis. It's earned through performance, under the brightest lights, against the strongest competition. Whether this remarkable Wimbledon run continues or ends in the next round, something important has already shifted. Alex Eala has crossed the line from promising prospect to established contender. Her name is now part of the conversation whenever the sport talks about its brightest young stars, and the biggest names in tennis are treating her like someone who belongs among them. For years, people wondered when a player from the Philippines would finally make a genuine breakthrough at the highest level. Now, they have their answer. Alex Eala has arrived, and judging by the admiration of legends, the respect of her rivals, and the belief of fans around the world, the rest of the tennis world already knows it. Tennis Unfiltered.